Learning now that Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, he's announced that he'll provide financial help to all those who've been affected by this tragedy. And indeed, the Russian president has been holding an emergency meeting to discuss the response to the Domodedovo blast. And he's also delayed his trip to the World Economic Forum in the Swiss city of Davos, where he was planning to make a keynote speech. Well, let's get details on the government's reaction to today's incident from RT's Tom Barton, who's there in central Moscow. Tom, so tell us, what did the president have to say?
Well, first of all, the latest development is with the Prime Minister, Vladimir Putin. He spoke to the Health Minister and had a briefing with her and said, first of all, a decree will be announced announcing compensation for the victims of this bomb blast, and also recommended that she go and inspect the condition of the wounded in the hospitals personally. Secondly, President Medvedev, he has indeed delayed his trip planned for Wednesday for the start of the Davos Economic Summit, where he was due to be a keynote speaker. He has delayed that, and he has had a meeting with the Prosecutor General, with the Russian Transport Ministry and with the Investigative Committee. The message from that meeting is, first of all, we have to get on and find the people who have planned this. We have to be, in his words, hot on their heels. He's also said that those people now in hospital, they are going to need medical help and psychological help, even for those people without physical wounds. He also gave his condolences to the families of those affected. Let's just listen quickly to what he had to say.
The explosion in Domodedovo took people's lives. I've spoken to the Health Minister and the Emergencies Minister. Those injured in the explosion will receive all necessary aid. I express my condolences to the families of those killed. Extra security will be put in place in all airports, railway stations and transport hubs. A special investigation group will be set up to look into the incident. We need to look at what's happened in the immediate aftermath. As for security on transport, we've recently approved a number of laws on that. We need to check that those laws are working. Because what happened shows not all of those rulings are being properly applied. We have to look into that. The most important thing at the moment is to support the victims and their families.
The laws to which the President is referring there were passed after the March last year, the metro bombings and the earlier bombings on the Nevsky Express train on its way to St. Petersburg. In both cases, extra laws were added to Russia's anti-terror legislation, and as you heard there, the President thinks that those laws are either not being followed properly or may need further adjustment. They need to be closely scrutinised, and how they work in reality needs to be looked at very closely. Also, the mayor of Moscow and the governor of the Moscow region have also turned out in person to provide leadership on the spot and show that the government's response from the Prime Minister, the President and the local government is rapid and shows that they are showing leadership on the ground.
You talk about the mayor. Of course, it's crucial that he handles this situation well, Tom, because of course he's not long been in the post, has he?
Absolutely. Moscow's population, if you look at the March bombings last year, it's not even been a year since they happened. They're still very fresh in people's minds. And when you get something like this happening at an airport, which you would think would be one of the most well-guarded of public places, the potential for panic is quite potentially quite frightening. So for the Moscow mayor and the local and national government to show leadership at this time, it does a lot to help alleviate people's potential sense of panic.
Tom, of course, it's not just the airport that's affected here. There are implications throughout the whole of the Russian capital. What's the feeling there at the moment? Do you sense an area of tension in the city at the moment? There you are, right there in the streets. What's it like to be in Moscow at the moment?
In the centre of Moscow, there is a visibly heightened police presence, especially around near where I am, near the Kremlin and some of the central government buildings there. There's a sense that there is a heightened security presence, but also that here in the centre, the airport is quite a long way. It does give echoes, though, of the metro bombings back in March last year, where as soon as it happened, the police presence was instantly heightened, and extra vigilance is present really throughout all of the city's major public transport hubs.
Tom, not just an impact here on the Russian capital, not just in Russia itself, but of course many are saying this is a global tragedy. This affects international communities. We've had the President of Russia speaking up. What sort of reaction? We've already heard a little from Washington, but what do you think the reaction will be from other international leaders? I know it's very early days, but you've been hearing what the President has to say. What do you think he's going to hear from the global community?
Well, I mean, in these cases, you know, these terrorist attacks, it's hard to know exactly who exactly is responsible, but it seems, you know, some people are already asking the questions. It very much seems like it could be that in these cases, the message is very much that we are all in the Western world, in Central Europe, at threat from these attacks, and we all suffer the same way. And so I think the message of condolence from across the world will be the same.
Tom Barton, thanks very much indeed for that update live there on RT in the Russian capital.